So you've got this tiny strip of water, right? And it is basically holding the entire global economy hostage. We're hearing all sorts of conflicting reports. There are naval blockades, high-stakes diplomacy. It's all colliding in the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, let's dive into this and try to unravel what is really going on in one of the most critical spots on the planet.
First things first, a quick refresh. The Strait of Hormuz is this vital waterway, really the only sea passage that gets you from the Persian Gulf out to the open ocean. Its strategic importance? Well, you just can't overstate it. It's a true choke point for international shipping, and believe me, any disruption here sends ripples across the entire world.
And those ripples, they're mainly about energy. Think about this. Around a fifth, 20%, of all the oil the world uses on any given day has to sail through this tiny corridor. So you can see why this matters. When there's trouble here, it puts a chokehold on the global economy and threatens to send energy prices just skyrocketing for all of us.
But that brings us to the real head-scratcher in this whole crisis. For days now, we've been hearing this blizzard of contradictory statements. One side says the waterway is open, the other says it's completely shut down. So how on earth can both of those things be true? That's exactly what we're going to break down first. This core contradiction that's right at the heart of this standoff.
I mean, the disagreement here is pretty stark. On one side, you have former President Trump declaring on Truth Social that the strait is, and I quote, completely open. Then on the other side, Iranian state media is reporting the exact opposite, that it's closed once again and under the strict management of their military.
And you know, this isn't just political talk, it's causing real chaos out on the water. Correspondents on the ground are confirming just how confusing it is. We're hearing about multiple vessels being forced to turn around, and get this, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, which is a powerful branch of their military, has reportedly even opened fire on at least one ship. It just shows you how volatile the situation really is.
So, to understand this contradiction, we really need to look at what's happening just outside the strait, and what each side is demanding to let things go back to normal.
President Trump himself made the U.S. position crystal clear. He confirmed that the U.S. Navy has a blockade on Iranian ports, and he stated very plainly that it will not be lifted until, in his words, our transaction with Iran is 100% complete.
So this creates this really clear cause and effect loop. First, the U.S. keeps its naval blockade on Iranian ports, which puts huge pressure on Iran's economy. Then, in direct response, Iran's military takes back control over the Strait of Hormuz, pretty much declaring that any ship that wants to pass needs their okay. And just like that, you've got a standoff.
So what is this 100% complete deal that the U.S. is demanding? Well, according to President Trump, it involves some pretty major things from Tehran. A total suspension of their nuclear program, handing over all of their enriched uranium, and cutting off funding for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas.
Iran, on the other hand, sees this U.S. blockade as totally illegitimate. They've actually called it an act of piracy and maritime theft. Their position is simple. The U.S. has to end its blockade and allow complete freedom of movement for ships going to and from Iran before the strait will be truly and fully reopened.
Now, this whole standoff isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's actually just one piece of a much larger and incredibly complex geopolitical puzzle.
All of these things are connected. You've got these tense negotiations happening over in Pakistan between the U.S. and Iran, the whole ongoing issue over the nuclear program, and a separate, very fragile ceasefire in Lebanon. All of this is going on while the threat of military action and global economic chaos is just looming over everything.
And that situation in Lebanon is a really crucial piece of this. There's a temporary 10-day ceasefire between Israel and the Iranian-backed Hezbollah, and it is barely holding on. President Trump even publicly said that Israel was prohibited by the U.S. from bombing Lebanon. But here's the thing, that ceasefire is set to expire next week, and that just adds another layer of extreme pressure on these wider negotiations.
So all of this leads us to the final critical question. Where do we go from here, when we're basically teetering on the brink of total uncertainty?
So let's just quickly summarize where we are right now. The Strait of Hormuz is under the tight control of Iran's IRGC. The U.S. naval blockade is still in full effect. The peace talks, they're stalled, and major deadlines are coming up fast. And regional tensions are, and this is no exaggeration, at a boiling point.
An Al Jazeera correspondent really summed it up perfectly. When you look at this whole situation, the strait, the blockade, the talks, all of it, the only real certainty is that there is no certainty at all. And that puts the entire world on a razor's edge. Both sides are dug in, military forces are in position, and that window for a diplomatic solution is closing fast. The very next move could be the one that de-escalates the crisis. Or it could be the one that plunges a critical region and the global economy into chaos. The question is, what will that move be?